So I recently bought a Switch OLED for the sole purpose of playing Bayonetta 3, and I enjoyed the game. It was a fun game, but it got me wondering, is this Switch OLED better than my Steam Deck? So I posted a poll on my channel. 58% of you said the Steam Deck was the best. 27% of you must have been hungry because you wanted a cheeseburger, while 9% of you wanted me to get off your lawn, and finally, the last 7% thought the Switch OLED was the best. So it's pretty polarizing in favor of the Steam Deck and just absolutely trashing on the Switch. So in this video, we're going to compare the Steam Deck to the Switch OLED as objectively as I can. There will be 5 categories, and each category will award 1 point. 1 point, the most points win. And this will not be an all-encompassing video, but I think this will be just enough to get my point across. Let's start with cost. There are multiple versions of the Switch. We are comparing the OLED model Switch to the base model Steam Deck because they are the closest in cost. And while I do acknowledge that there is a regular Switch for $300 and a Switch Lite for $200, while there are more expensive versions of the Steam Deck, we are leaving them out of this comparison. So we say $350 for the Switch and $400 for the base model Steam Deck. That's it. Switch is cheaper, point switch. Well, not quite. So let's say you buy the Switch and intend to play it online for the next 5 or so years. That's a reasonable expectation. You'll pay $350 for the console and $20 a year minimum for the privilege of playing your console games online. That brings the total cost of ownership up to about $450 just to own the console and be able to use it online for 5 years. And the more time you use it online, the more money it's going to cost. And while the Steam Deck, $400 with no online membership cost, and that's it. So let's say you don't intend to use either console online and only want to play single-player games, which is honestly how I use both of these platforms and intend to use them. The Steam Deck is still cheaper because when you buy a console, you're not just buying the console. You have to buy games to play on the console, and yes, the Switch has helped out tremendously by physical media allowing you to buy used games, and the deck is not. Steam sales and sites like G2A will, in my opinion, vastly outweigh the help of used games. Take Dark Souls Remastered, for example. A physical copy of the game used will run roughly $40 for the Switch. As evidence of GameStop's website, you might be able to find it a little cheaper somewhere else. However, while a copy of Dark Souls Remastered from G2A will run about $30. So yes, the console itself is cheaper, but the overall point goes to the deck for being involved in a cheaper platform. So while yes, you can absolutely use either of these docked in a TV setting, but that's not how we're going to be talking about them today. We're only going to be talking about using them as handheld consoles. And we'll be omitting the screens from this section because they both have their own, the screens have their own section, and that is next. So as far as comfort in my hands, I'm going to have to say the Steam Deck. While yes, it is almost twice as heavy. So the Switch is just under a pound, and the Steam Deck is, 1.7 pounds? And is significantly larger. The Steam Deck is huge. While the screens are roughly the same size, the deck itself is much larger and much heavier. However, I think the deck is a lot more comfortable because after about an hour or two, I feel the weight of the Switch in my hands a lot more than I do on the Steam Deck. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way the deck is shaped. It takes up a physically larger footprint in your hands, allowing you to, more evenly disperse that weight in your hands. The Switch is basically just a thin board, and it's not very comfortable to hold for more than an hour or so. And while I've sat and played the Steam Deck for over a day. And the acoustic levels, so I think they both have front-facing speakers, but I think the speakers on the Steam Deck are a little more high quality. They get a little bit louder, and they don't sound quite as tinny. So I've noticed that speakers on the Switch, they just don't sound like they're of very good quality. I notice that noise echoes through them a little bit, and they sound very tinny. And as far as the acoustic level from the cooling systems in these go, I think the Switch is a little bit quieter, but the overall volume of the Steam Deck will kind of drown that out. So I think the overall acoustic quality is a bit of a wash. But as far as battery life and handheld comfort go, battery life is again going to be a wash because, especially with the Steam Deck, it can last an hour, it can last 8 hours. It depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. The Switch, I haven't really used it long enough to, to feel the effects of the battery life, but I think the battery life is something people just kind of deal with more than they do looking for a platform to use. But I think overall, the Steam Deck is going to win the handheld use just because it is significantly more comfortable to use. As far as screens go, this is where you're going to have to trust me, bro, or look at somebody else's comparisons. I don't have the proper equipment to document these differences and share them with you accurately, but I can see the differences and tell them to you. The deck does have a larger screen. It is taller, not wider. It is a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, while the Switch is a 16 by 9. As far as resolution goes and pixel density, they're practically speaking identical. The Steam Deck is 1280 by 800, while the Switch is 1280 by 720. And that's just because the deck screen is slightly taller. Oh, I'm gonna leave that one in there. But anyway, yeah, so the deck is slightly taller, and the screen size reflects that. So with the resolution and screen size being roughly equal, how are we going to declare a winner here? Simple, with color and contrast. The Switch's screen, while yes, is slightly smaller, is vastly superior to the Steam Deck's because it is an OLED screen, and this is only true for the OLED version of the Switch. The blacks are deeper and the brights are brighter. The reds are somehow more red, and things just look better on the Switch. And to be clear, only the OLED Switch will take this point. The screens on the Switch and Switch Lite are horrendous. But the screen on the OLED is absolutely phenomenal, and I wish there was an OLED upgrade for the deck. I would buy it, even if it cost what the deck did. Moving on. Let's talk about portability, because if you're buying a Steam Deck or a Switch, you're probably intending on taking it with you somewhere sometime in the future. So what console is more portable? Well, the Switch is slightly smaller, so it's obviously more portable, right? Well, sorta. The Switch does primarily rely on physical media, so you'll be toting around games, and that can honestly be a bit of a pain in the ass. The cartridges are small, which is nice, but it's also not nice because they're easy to lose. And the deck does come with a rather nice carrying case. You can get one for the Switch too, but again, that's an accessory purchase, so that's not really part of the video. I will say that technically, yes, the Switch is more portable because it is smaller, lighter, and will damn near fit in your pocket. So point Switch. But if you're like me and you travel, you make room when you travel for the things that you're going to want, because at the end of the day, I would rather have something and have had to make the space for it as opposed to not having it. That's all. Finally, let's talk about our last section, game selection, because you can't talk about consoles without taking the games that come with the consoles into consideration. Nintendo is very particular about the games it allows on their platforms, while Steam takes a very play whatever you want, install whatever you want, do whatever you want with our console, so point Steam Deck. Because, yes, even if the one game you want to play is on Switch, you can probably emulate it on the Steam Deck, even if Nintendo doesn't want you to. So shut up, Nintendo. I'm gonna emulate my games, and you can't stop me. Maybe I should leave that out of the video so I don't get a cease and desist. I haven't emulated any games, Nintendo. I swear. I haven't done anything. But anyway, conclusion. The score comes out to 3 out of 5 Steam Deck and 2 out of 5 Switch. So winner, Steam Deck. So while at the end of the day the Steam Deck is obviously superior in damn near every way, if you can't play the things the way you want to play them, it's probably worthless to you. And the same thing goes for the Switch. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, if you made it to this point of the video, just rate, comment, subscribe. Happy to see you guys. Sorry it took me so long. I've been working a little too much. I'm not gonna lie, like 2 weeks of 10-hour days will absolutely kill your cell. It'll just kill your energy. The 10+ hour days for 2 weeks straight, oh man, that's brutal. Only a few more days, then I can finally sleep. But I'll catch you guys in the next one.